chapter 36. But God is merciful. He would show up in a big way for us, right when we needed him the most. But I'm getting ahead of myself. On May 14th, 2019, we started the day by getting ready to go to one of our twice-a-week wound care visits. Moving the arm had become so painful that I knew Michelle would be miserable afterwards. So instead of staying with her through the appointment like usual, I left to walk down the hall and arrange to stay in the ER so she'd get some IV pain medicine and some level of relief from the tsunami of pain I knew she was about to endure. But first I went to Dr. Taylor's office, and that way he could call the ER and tell them that we were coming. And then I walked down to the ER myself and gave them a heads up in person. By the time I got back to the wound care center, they were done redressing everything, and Michelle was hurting badly, so we headed straight to the ER. And they were ready for us, and there was no wait time, and they had everything ready to get Michelle started on IV pain medicine right away. And Georgetown Hospital is a fantastic little hospital. They got great staff that really know their business, and they practice compassionate medicine and really mean it. By now, most of the staff knew us, and they went out of their way to help us any way they could. And that included writing new floor policies on use of pain meds in extreme cases like Michelle's. But even so, there is a limit to how much pain medicine a hospital is comfortable giving a patient before risking overdose. And we'd reached that limit, and it was no longer providing adequate relief for the steadily increasing intense pain in Michelle's poor, ravaged arm. The next morning, before she was set to be discharged, she said to me, "Baby, I'm ready for hospice." How do I explain how those words hit me? It shook me to my very soul, and I felt true terror, the likes of which I've never felt before. I knew that if she started hospice, she'd have to quit the immunotherapy, and the cancer would just spread like wildfire, and I'd lose her soon. But my poor baby was in so much pain. We tried the pain pump and made regular ER visits, tried everything we could try, and done everything we could do. We exhausted all of our other options. What else could we do besides hospice to try to move this mountain of pain? If love and faith could have moved it, it had been thrown into the sea quicker than Mark 11:23. But no amount of faith, the love for him or for your loved one, can make something happen if it's not in his will. And the weight of this mountain had become enormous and unbearable. It's too much to ask any human being to carry day in, day out, every single moment, without respite and no end in sight. But hope does not die easy. And there was still a way forward for us. If we could establish an effective pain treatment on hospice care, and then move down to palliative care while maintaining that pain regimen treatment. Because on palliative care, you can be under active disease treatment. And we discussed it with the nurse coordinator that arranges hospice transfers, and she confirmed that, yeah, it had been done before, and she thought it was a good plan. So on May 15th, 2019, we transferred into hospice care. And normally I signed all Michelle's paperwork for her. I because of her arm and pain and stuff. But I couldn't bring myself to sign the hospice transfer. Just couldn't. I said, baby, I'm with you every single step of the way, but I'll support whatever you decide to do, okay? That's one thing you have to sign without me. I didn't want my signature on that. Michelle had Danielle sign the hospice paperwork, and they took Michelle by ambulance from Georgetown to hospice, St. Joseph East in Lexington. Danielle and I met her there. We let Savannah and Brooke and all the rest of the family know right away. And of course the girls dropped everything and made plans to come in from out of town immediately. And my family was much closer by, and they of course did the same, but within 24 hours of arriving at hospice, Michelle was so heavily sedated that she was unconscious. The amount of pain medicine required to make the pain bearable was so great that my wife was never going to wake up again. The hospice doctor's exact words were, "Pain management and consciousness are no longer compatible." It happened so fast, I couldn't believe it. I was totally unprepared for it. No one was prepared for it. Danielle and I were right there the whole time. We never even got to say goodbye to her. One minute she was there, one minute she was asleep, out, never gonna wake up again. We weren't ready. Brooke and Savannah got there the day after Michelle was admitted, but they were never gonna get to speak to their mom again. The only way to have Michelle conscious again was if I asked them to reduce the pain meds and put her back in agonizing pain. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It would have been selfish to make her suffer, just for me to get, and the girls to get closure. I couldn't do it. I can't adequately describe the depths of my despair. Just 48 hours ago, we were headed to a wound care visit. Still in the fight. Now suddenly my love, my precious, beautiful wife, was dying in a whole cold hospice room. And I couldn't even say goodbye. You remember that remote? Can you imagine the enormous regret I felt over having fussed at her over something so unimportant? It broke me in half. How could the beautiful, precious gift of true love that God blessed us with end this way? Had those careless words that I said in frustration and weakness caused all this? I begged God for forgiveness. And I knelt at Michelle's bedside and wept, like Jesus wept for Lazarus.